Well, hello again. What a great morning we've had. I didn't think I could be more, excited about ideas than we were yesterday, and here we've just had so many good talks. And I think I actually know a lot more about nuclear engineering than I knew before. So anyway, thank you so much. Earlier this morning, I talked about all the reasons that I think Tennesseans want us to pursue what we're pursuing, and Tennessee has exactly what it takes to be the next great American innovation hub. Daniel talked about radical collaboration. I talked about the 3 Ps, people, place, partnerships, and we've just seen so many demonstrations of that here today. So we're working hard to build the future, but we cannot do it without strong leadership. We are so grateful and really fortunate to have Governor Bill Lee with us this morning. Governor Lee is the 50th governor of Tennessee and a 7th-generation Tennessean. He was raised just down the road in Franklin, where he still lives today on his family's farm. Since becoming governor in 2019, Governor Lee has focused on building a strong workforce, quality education, economic development, and supporting families, all with a particular focus on accelerated transformation of rural communities. During his tenure, Tennessee has been ranked the fastest growing economy among all 50 states with the lowest tax burden in the nation. That's a good thing to clap about, yeah? We are often talked about as having the top business climate and a strong workforce strategy that has created 200,000 jobs for Tennesseans. Please join me in welcoming our governor, Governor Bill Lee.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Chancellor. Saw Chancellor Diermeyer in the back coming in. I know that there are, I think Bill Hargrave has been here, MTSU, Tennessee Tech, Tennessee, Memphis, Vanderbilt. Powerful collaboration evidence here today, and I'm just really proud to be able, and we have commissioners here from our departments, and this is exactly what it should look like when people come together in our state to make sure that we stay in the forefront. So thank you for having me, and excited about this work here and what you all are doing. I am an excited man today. General Assembly finished up yesterday. I'm tired. You can't. So I might look a little bit tired, but I'm enthusiastic and ready to get back to work in a new way over the summer. We got a lot of good things done. I think just briefly about the close of our session, the most important thing we did was pass a budget that maintains fiscal stewardship and a responsible approach to managing taxpayer dollars in this state. At the end of the day, that's probably my most important job, is to make sure that we are fiscally appropriately managing the dollars of this state and reminding ourselves that they are taxpayer dollars and not the state's dollars, and that we do so in a way that makes sure Tennessee's successful in the future. Everyone hopes that we will do that, and we've accomplished that this year. And one of the most important things we did, as you all know, is we passed a particular piece of legislation around franchise and excise tax that the state was presented with an enormous problem, and we developed a strategy and a solution for that problem. And it was complex, and it was difficult to develop that solution. And we navigated that through the legislature to make sure that we did what was right for Tennessee this year and solve that problem this year. And without getting into all the detail of that, for me, that was the biggest accomplishment of this legislative session. And we got it done. And we did so without compromising too much in the way of disclosure or, so for those of you who are familiar with that, I'm really happy today. I think we put ourselves in a really good position going forward. And what that means is that we continue to be in a position that is the envy of a lot of states. We are, as Chancellor said, one of the lowest tax states in the country, one of the fastest growing economies in the country, one of the lowest debt burden, actually the lowest debt per capita burden state in America. And all those things set us up for the ability to do, for example, what we did with the franchise and excise tax, which was solve $1.5 billion problem in 1 year with the surplus that we have because of our approach to the budget. And on top of that, to be able to invest in the things that matter to Tennesseans, infrastructure and transportation, and things government should be involved in. Workforce development, which I know that you all have talked about. I looked at the agenda that you all have have had for today and going forward, and it's very exciting because it's all things we think about: energy and mobility and workforce development and infrastructure and the ecosystem that provides for economic activity that's prosperous for our state. Because for me, it kind of goes back to the reason that I ever got into this job in the first place, which was, I remember when my wife and I decided to start our campaign. We're driving around all over the state, and we had this exercise that we did together where we would look at a mailbox and the house or trailer or mansion or apartment associated with that and ask ourselves, wonder what matters to them. Wonder what they wish they could tell me as I'm running to be the governor. What would they want me to care about? And it allows you to kind of set aside all the political divisiveness and rhetoric and the things that are toxic, and it allows you to remember what matters to regular, everyday Tennesseans. And what you all are discussing right here creates an environment where people can thrive. It allows people to have access to a better way of life than they had before. At the end of the day, that's how I view my job, is what we're doing with policy, with innovation, with collaboration, what we are doing that will make that mailbox, the people that live at that mailbox, have access to a better way of life, whatever that looks like. And there's a lot to that. It's a complicated and difficult thing to do, but it's working in this state. And it's working not because the governor or the government is doing all the right things. It's because the people are creating that environment that allows that to happen. People come to Tennessee. I was at a restaurant this morning, and I had three different couples walk up to me that have moved here from out of state and say, we're really glad we moved to Tennessee. People come to Tennessee because of what environment exists in this state. And to the people sitting in this room who are leaders and influencers and can profoundly impact what that environment looks like, kudos to you. You should be pleased by the fact that you're leaning into this, that you're a part of creating that environment. I said it was working. There are a couple of indicators that we know that, besides the fact that people come here and that we're fast growing and fast economy and all of that. But Chancellor Plowman referenced my concern for rural Tennessee. I do think that all of our economies are interconnected. So what happens in rural Tennessee matters to every Tennessean, and it does matter that we have this opportunity for all the people that live here. We're one of only 5 states in the country where 90% of our counties are growing. 90 out of 95 of our counties had growth population growth in the last year. Things are happening not only in big, thriving urban centers like right here, but it's happening in places all over the state. That's important to all of us when we think about what we're trying to accomplish. And our poverty rate, for example, in our state has fallen below the national average for the first time in our state's history. That means that Tennesseans broadly, not every Tennessean, and we never stop until they all have that access to a better way of life and better opportunity, but it is happening for the people here. And I want to say thank you for the role that you play. And I will also say, you know, there are 7 million people who are hoping that we care about mailboxes more than we do about the other things that often end up on the front page of the paper. So, I think it's important too, in light of, you know, as we think about significant announcements that have just been made. I mean, the Oracle announcement, what a great surprise. I think it was a surprise to everyone, even in people in Oracle. So a few of them knew about it, evidently, but what a great example of what's happening. And it's not, the good news about that is a particular sector of the economy, but then, I mean, what's happening in the growth at Nissan, as I sit here and look at business leaders across our state, what's happening with, you know, the fact that Ford Motor Company decided to make the largest investment that big global company has ever made in its history, right here in Tennessee. What's happening that the nuclear industry is really beginning to, the new nuclear industry, we have the nuclear legacy that no state has. And we're prepared, by the way, and I know there's been conversation about nuclear, and I'm very interested in that. You've seen that with our investments in the Nuclear Energy Fund and the advisory council that we've created, and the strong belief that not only should we have the history and the legacy, but we should own the future of that energy sector, which is in every conversation about the future of America's energy. We should own that future. And the coalescing of companies and investment and interest around the nuclear industry, and that's happening in East Tennessee. So we're talking about, I've just given 3 small examples, huge examples, of why 90 out of 95 of our counties are seeing economic prosperity and growth, because it's broadly spread all across this state. And, you know, it's not just our American-born companies that are interested. I had a Zoom call just the other day, day before yesterday, with the trade minister from South Korea. As you know, the Koreans have invested significantly in our state. They're a huge foreign direct investment partner with us. They are on the forefront of many of the technologies for mobility sector, and we are happy that they have decided to see Tennessee as a destination place for their companies. And when one comes, another one comes, and another one comes. And to the degree that we can create an environment, we are the number 2 state in America for foreign direct investment from Japan. And we have major global Japanese-based companies that employ 50,000 people in this state. This past year, we went to France, we went to Italy in economic development trips, Commissioner McWhorter and I, and as a result of that, and in part because of the partnerships we already have with companies from those countries, we've landed new commitments. Italian tile companies, French manufacturing companies, both of which I've visited just recently to see what their foreign investments look like in our state. We are becoming a part of the economy of this country that I go back to a phrase I used a few minutes ago, the envy of many states. And we have to not just, I mean, there are 6 states in the South and Tennessee's one of them, whose combined GDP outpaces the entire Northeast GDP. New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts. Our GDP in the 6 states in the South is greater than that. The economic shift to this part of the country is real, and it's happening, and it's unprecedented, and it's incredibly exciting for states like Tennessee. So that is wonderful to applaud and laud and brag about and call ourselves the envy, but it presents us with an enormous responsibility to stay ahead of the things that will keep that from improving and from advancing. I'm into my 6th year of 8 years here, so what I think about now is not as much what we're going to get done this session or next session as what we're going to do that's going to set us up for success 25 years from now in Tennessee. And part of that, from my perspective, is to invest in the infrastructures that make all of this movement possible. We've put $1.3 billion in water and sewer infrastructure grants across our state. Now, water and sewer may not be very sexy to you, but they are to me. I'm a former plumber, and I like water and sewer, and I'll tell you who else does. Every single company that wants to look at investing in our state. Every business that exists here in Tennessee and is growing. We talk a lot about companies coming here, but at the end of the day, the real job growth and the real economic activity is coming from our companies that are right here in Tennessee right now that are expanding every day. So making sure that they have technology, and we've invested heavily in that technology infrastructure across our state in the last 5 years to make sure that it's everywhere so people can access healthcare and education and the ability to work and build their businesses no matter where they live. If we do that, then we're going to stay ahead of that as well. We have invested heavily, as you know, in something called Transportation Modernization Act. If we have highly rated road system in this state, one of the best in the country, but we frankly we have $30 billion worth of projects that we need to be moving forward on. And we had to find an alternative funding strategy for those projects. We had to change the way we procure projects and the project delivery method that we have in state government to deliver roads and bridges, and we did that last year with the Transportation Modernization Act. So the things we're focusing on now are setting us up for the future. I already mentioned energy. I will just say one more time that everyone who knows anything about economic development and about companies' decisions and about the ability for a business to grow and expand understands that the strength of our grid, the reliability of our generation, the ability for us to access power and know that we will have the power in the future for the growth, it is paramount that we continuously evaluate what that looks like and how we advocate for both federal policy and work at the state level to make sure that we are setting ourselves up to have the infrastructure, including the power, to deliver what's needed going forward. And I think Commissioner Thomas is here, or there she is. And workforce is, hey, I ran a company for 25 years. Maybe one of the biggest challenges we had was finding the workers when our company was growing and we were gaining a new contract and had to get more skilled workers on the job. It was a huge problem for us. In fact, we created a university-type system, we called it. We created a training program of our own and took people with absolutely no skill and had training programs to bring them into a place, a very sort of sophisticated training program. Because we so desperately needed workers, we had to create our own. Every company in the state can't do that. Every company doesn't have the size to be able to do that. Workforce development is, well, let me just say, when I sat across from the COO of Ford to try and convince them or persuade them or remind them why this was the best state for them to come, it was, I believe, in large part because of the commitment that we collectively have to workers. And because that was really their number one concern. Are you going to be able to provide the workforce for this decision that we're about to make? The state with the workers will win every time. And we have to remember that through our higher education institutions, our community colleges, our technical colleges. When I came into office, one of the very first things we put into place was something called the Governor's Investment in Vocational Education Act, the GIVE Act, because we knew that if we didn't expand and develop not just vocational and technical and agricultural education, that's what that was focused on, but to elevate the idea that we have to expand pathways of success for all types of workers in all types of skills that will be required in all types of industries across all the counties in our state. The GIVE Act was followed up by a $500 million investment in middle school and high school CTE programs. And then last year we put $1 billion into our colleges of technology with a strategy really to deliver 10,000 workers a year out of that portion of our educational strategy. And that comes alongside our traditional strategies through our four-year colleges and universities. So we understand, as challenging and difficult as it might be, we do believe that the state with the workers is going to win every time. And we're winning right now, but we will only win, we'll only continue to win if we continue to think about this, preparing our state for its future. We have a rich, exciting, vast future ahead of us as a state, and yet it's, if any of you and all of you in the positions that you're in, and I know my former position of running a company. If I remember, there was a book called Good to Great. It was a business book about how you take companies from one level to the next. And one of the risks associated with that was not preparing for rapid growth. Too fast, too quick, too many new customers, too many new employees, and it laid out all the reasons why rapid growth without a preparation for it is catastrophe for a business. I feel the same way about the state of Tennessee. To the degree that we can anticipate this growth and be ahead of it and plan for it, we will, our grandchildren 25 years from now will be glad we did it. And finally, I'll also say, when I think about 25 years, and this is, oftentimes people will maybe say this part is not about the business climate and the economic climate, but hear me out, it is, I believe. When we think about 25 years from now, we also ought to think about the unique quality of life that we have in the state of Tennessee, the beauty of our state, the remarkable natural resources that we have in the state, the reason that people love living in Knoxville because of the access, or love living in West Tennessee because of the beauty of the rich farmland there, or love living in Middle Tennessee, love the state parks that we have from one end of the state to the other, love the fact that we have some of the most biologically diverse rivers and streams in the nation, and that we have an obligation to protect them. If we don't care about our care about conserving and about our environment and about our natural resources, then we will not be delivering the entire package that makes this state so attractive today. We developed a conservation package or a conservation strategy within our administration. We've established a significant historic number of new state parks and state natural areas. We have developed a strategy to complete that over the next couple of years. We passed something called the Rural Brownfields Act to clean up toxic waste sites across our state in an accelerated fashion so we can turn them back over for other uses and for economic development. We actually pushed, we didn't get it done this year, but we'll get it done. You know, I was in a press conference yesterday, they said, well, are you disappointed this or that failed? And I'm like, well, it was stalled. We will get things done. Sometimes big ideas and important initiatives take a couple years to get done, take a couple of legislative sessions to get done. We proposed something called the Farmland Bill that will fix the challenges and get it forward. But when you have a state that's growing like ours, we're losing farmland at the third highest rate of any state in the country. That's really important that we protect and put land into conservation trusts and figure out a way to balance economic growth with preservation of our natural resources. And that actually goes back to our conversation about nuclear energy, clean, cost-effective energy for the future that allows us to contemplate the ability to preserve the environment that we have with the need for greater and greater energy resources in the future. So we're thinking about that at the same time in all of our conversations that we have about economic prosperity and workforce development and infrastructure growth. And we should also be thinking about the quality of life in our state, because part of the reason people come here is because this is one of the most beautiful places in America, and we can work to keep it that way. So I'm very proud of our state. I'm very, when I came into this job 6 years ago, I hardly knew where the legislature met. I hardly knew where the Capitol was. I did know, but what I have come to understand and learn about the uniqueness of this state and the beauty of her people and the diversity of our economy and the diversity of the interests of the people across the state, I have come to an awareness of why it is that this man that walked up to me from one couple from New York this morning said, I moved here from New York, and I got to tell you, we are really glad we're here. I moved here from California. We are really glad we're here. There's a uniqueness to our state that we should embrace as those of us who are driving the forces that are creating the opportunity for those people that live behind that mailbox. We should embrace all that is this greatest state in the country, and it's the highest honor I have to serve in this spot. And I promise that I'm not forgetting those mailboxes as we finish the next 2 years and think about the next 25. We will do. Government is not the answer to the greatest challenges we face in our day. I've learned that more. The longer I'm here, the more I realize that. The government's incapacity and lack of resources and ability to address those challenges is all the more evident to me. But what we do have the opportunity to do in state government is to create an environment where the people sitting in this room and leaders all across this state can engage in the things that they know will make life better for their neighbors. And you're doing that, and I appreciate that very much, and I'm really happy I got a minute to step in, and thank you for your work and for your coming together to elevate those conversations. Thanks.